a rolled blanket or towel under the knees and a folded blanket under the head. And maybe sweep the skin around the pelvis down towards the heels. And then stretch the back of the heels away from your body. And you might want to even cradle the back of your head and lift the back of the head and then stretch it away, making sure that the neck is supported but not your shoulders. So the shoulders can just rest back into the ground. So I'm going to leave you there while I talk you through just a sense of settling there. Just checking in with what's what, regardless of how your morning's been. So just sensing the back of your body and noticing how your heels are resting there, right and left heel. And noticing how the backs of your legs take support, the backs of the knees. See if you can let go of the legs, let go of any muscular work in the legs so that they just fall out into their natural external rotation. So there's no sense of having to hold anything through your legs. And just easing across the back of the pelvis. Maybe a sense that the sacrum can broaden, can spread out towards the sides of the mat. Just noticing then the muscles that run along your spine, right and left sides. And noticing your shoulder blades, right and left shoulder blade. See if you can detect any differences between the shoulder blades. So maybe there's a difference in weight or height. And then noticing the back of the head, how the back of the head is resting. And then just noticing that you are breathing. And softening the belly. So we're going to play around with softening the belly today. Just allowing the belly to naturally rise on your inhalation. And letting the belly sink back toward your spine on the exhalation. So this gentle ebb and flow, rise and fall of the belly as you breathe. And so when the mind wanders, which it inevitably will, just gently bringing your mind back to notice that you are breathing. So throughout the practice today, just gently, when you notice that you're off somewhere else, just bringing the mind back to the body, either through noticing your own breath or noticing sensation in the body. So this is really what we work with in Yin Yoga, a noticing of what's arising for you in the present moment, whatever that is, without any judgment around it. So just being here, just noticing what is for you in this moment. What is present for you. And that might be judgment, but just noticing that judgment's there and then letting it just drift away. So last few breaths here in this supported Shavasana positioning. And so then from here, you're going to bring the blanket or towel that's underneath your knees, that rolled blanket or towel that's under your knees, and scooch it up so that it's underneath your pelvis. So your pelvis is slightly lifted. So right on the sacrum, the lumbar spine is free. There's space. You can put your hands underneath your spine because there's space there. So you just want the pelvis elevated. And then we'll take this yin version of an inversion, letting the legs come up to the ceiling. So it's like legs up a wall without a wall. And so there's a sense of a plumb line running through the leg, like the back of the femur can start to drop back in the hip socket. And again, a softening across the back of your pelvis. So like a broadening across the back of the pelvis. Let the legs do what they want to over time as you stay. So it might be that it's too much on the hamstrings to keep the legs straight. Maybe you want to let that dissolve a bit. So just staying in this little inverted place. Notice how the rest of the body falls as you stay. So the sense still that the upper back, the shoulder blades are taking support, the backs of the arms are taking support. Another option while you're there could be to use your belt or strap or piece of cloth and hook it around the balls of the feet. And then hold one end of the strap or cloth in each hand. There's a sense of broadening across the front of the body, collarbones wide. Last few breaths like this. And then from here we'll move into a pose called Happy Baby with the pelvis elevated. So bending the knees. Bending the knees and letting your feet come up to the ceiling. And you can keep hold of the strap there if you want to. I'm battling a dog. How come no? So you can either hold the feet, or you can hold the back of the thighs, or you can hold the insides of the feet. The dog is attacking me. So just breathing there. And I'll read you a little poem while you're there about dogs. It's called The Sweetness of Dogs by Mary Oliver. And it's also a full moon tonight, so this is a lovely poem for the moment. Mary Oliver writes, "What do you say, Percy? I'm thinking of sitting out on the sand to watch the moon rise. It's full tonight." And so we go, and the moon rises, so beautiful, it makes me shudder. It makes me think about time and space. It makes me take the measure of myself. One iota, pondering heaven. And thus we sit, myself thinking how grateful I am for the moon's perfect beauty, and also how rich it is to love the world. Percy, meanwhile, leans up against me and gazes up into my face as though I were just as beautiful as the perfect moon. So therein, happy baby, softening through the hips, softening the feet, the fingers, and the face. So as you stay, see if you can find a sense of stillness. And then noticing the sensations that arise within that stillness. And then softening all around those sensations. Last few breaths like this. So then from here, releasing your happy baby and bringing the knees into the chest, please. Just wrapping the hands around the knees if that feels appropriate, or you can hold underneath at the back of the thighs. So this is like a little inverted child's pose. Feeling, setting up a small flexion in the spine. Just getting a sense for the breath here. So if your abdomen meets your thighs, noticing what that relationship is like there. And sensing the rising of the belly towards the legs. And as you exhale, the belly can sink back towards the spine. Perhaps the thighs can drop closer to the body. As you stay, notice if there's any muscular work that you can let go of, even if that means that the shape dissolves slightly. So what can continue to soften? Maybe the face. Maybe the jaw. Perhaps you can find some space there between your back teeth. Notice how the breath responds to that softening through the jaw. Relaxing the tongue, the chin, and the throat. And then bringing the mind back to the breath. That ebb and flow. Rise and fall of the belly. And so as we come into the last minute, finding a sense of stillness. Noticing the sensations arising out of the stillness. And then softening all around those sensations. Last few breaths like this. And so from here, we'll take a variation on a reclining twist. So you can leave that blanket underneath your pelvis, elevated. Let the knees fall to one side of your body. And if you have your belt handy, you're going to take the belt and hook it around the ball of the foot that's on the top leg. And then extend your top leg. So you're holding the strap in your hand, with the belt in your hand, and it's wrapped around the ball of your foot. Straighten that top leg and let it drop over to the ground. This gets into the whole QL, the whole IT band section, hamstrings. And then if it's all right for your body, you open up, turning the heart towards the sky, and the opposite arm drops open towards the opposite side. So staying in your twist. If it becomes too much, too intense through the sensations there in the leg, you can always soften the knee. And then falling backwards into the ground behind you. And as you stay, I'll just read you a poem from a woman named Donna Faulds. It's called Self-Observation Without Judgment. And she writes, release the harsh and pointed inner voice. It's just a throwback to the past, and it holds no truth about this moment. Let go of self-judgment, the old learned ways of beating yourself up for each imagined inadequacy. Allow the dialogue within your mind to grow friendlier and quiet. Shift out of inner criticism, and life suddenly looks different. I can say this only because I make the choice 100 times a day to release the voice that refuses to acknowledge the real me. What's needed here isn't more prodding towards perfection, but intimacy, seeing clearly, and embracing what I see. Love, not judgment, sows the seeds of tranquility and change. Love, not judgment, sows the seeds of tranquility and change. So as you stay finding a sense of stillness, and in that stillness, noticing the sensations. So meeting those sensations in a friendly way. Last few breaths like this. And then when you're ready, slowly, gently bringing the knees back to center. Spend a few minutes at center. Maybe you want to stretch the legs long. Maybe you want to hug the knees back into your chest. Just taking a few breaths there at midline. Noticing any differences between right and left sides. And then when you're ready, bringing the knees back into the chest and allowing them to drop over to the other side. So straightening the top leg, again using your belt if you need it around the foot. The opposite arm stretches in the other direction. Softening and staying here. So asymmetrical poses are a nice opportunity to notice what's different on this side compared to the previous side. So what's new? Softening the belly. Perhaps softening the jaw. Relaxing the tongue in your mouth. Relaxing the chin. Seeing if you can soften the throat. As we come towards the last minute, just noticing if you can find a sense of stillness. And softening inside the stillness. Last few breaths like this. And then when you're ready, undoing, allowing the knees to come back in towards the chest. Just checking that that blanket is still supporting your sacrum. And then from here, we'll move into a supported bridge. So placing your feet flat on the floor, or you can stretch your legs long. So deciding what's best for your body. So the lumbar spine is free. The feet are supported. The back of the pelvis is supported. The shoulder girdle is supported. And the back of the head is supported. So as you stay in supported bridge, I thought it might be a nice time to reiterate these 10 guideposts for wholehearted living as articulated by Brené Brown. So she specifies 10 guideposts. The first, cultivating authenticity and letting go of what people think. Cultivating authenticity and letting go of what people think. Number 2, cultivating self-compassion and letting go of perfectionism. Cultivating self-compassion and letting go of perfectionism. 3, cultivating a resilient spirit and letting go of numbness and powerlessness. This is especially important now. Cultivating a resilient spirit and letting go of numbing and powerlessness. 4, cultivating gratitude and joy and letting go of scarcity and fear of the dark. Cultivating gratitude and joy and letting go of scarcity and fear of the dark. 5, cultivating intuition, trusting and letting go of the need for certainty. Another very poignant one. Cultivating intuition, trusting and letting go of the need for certainty. 6. Cultivating creativity and letting go of comparison. Cultivating creativity and letting go of comparison. 7. Cultivating play and rest, letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol and productivity as self-worth. Cultivating play and rest, letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol and productivity as self-worth. 8. Cultivating calm and stillness and letting go of anxiety as a lifestyle. Cultivating calm and stillness and letting go of anxiety as a lifestyle. 9. Cultivating meaningful work and letting go of self-doubt and supposed to. Cultivating meaningful work, letting go of self-doubt and supposed to. And finally, 10. Cultivating laughter, song, and dance, and letting go of being cool and always in control. Cultivating laughter, song, and dance, letting go of being cool and always in control. They're a brilliant list of 10. Last few breaths here. So then when you're ready, pressing your feet into the floor so that you can lift your pelvis up and slide the blanket out from underneath your pelvis, and then release your pelvis all the way down, either stretching the legs long or resting there with bent knees, and just getting a sense for the whole back of your body. So then just as easily as you can, flipping yourself over so that you're lying on your belly, so rolling onto your belly. And we'll find Sphinx. So Sphinx is a small back bend, bringing your elbows underneath your shoulders. If you want support for the rib cage, you can bring back your rolled blanket and place it underneath your rib cage, underneath the floating ribs, just for a bit of lift there. If you wanted to use the blanket that was under your head, you can make it a bit higher by folding it once again and letting the head take support. So you can go ahead and drop the head down, the forehead, onto that support. So this is quite a restorative way to do Sphinx, with the ribs supported and the head supported. That's one variation. Another variation is to take your props away and come all the way down to lying on the belly with your hands stacked one on top of each other, and just rest the forehead there on stacked hands. And another variation again is to take a pose called seal, where you take the arms as wide as the mat, come all the way up onto the pubic bone, the floating ribs are off the floor. And then you can look either straight ahead, or you may wish to drop your head on midline, releasing the chin towards chest. So Sphinx or seal, supported or unsupported. Noticing where your head is best positioned. for what you need today. So as you're staying, softening all of the places on your front body that meet the ground. So softening through the tops of the feet, softening the thighs, softening across the front of your pelvis, hip to hip. Softening the elbows or hands. Softening the face. So if your head is dropping forwards, it's a nice opportunity to let the skin on your face release. Softening your eyes, the muscles around your eyes. So as we come into the last 2 minutes, we're going to take a variation with the legs. One leg will move into a frog shape. So that means your knee bends and you bring your knee, so your knee out towards the side of your body, like a frog. So this is called frog meets sphinx. So you start to relax there as you have your knee out towards the sides of your body. So it's an external rotation in your femur. Lower leg also resting on ground. Foot also resting on ground. So the leg is going external. Yeah, other way, Russia, other way. Externally rotating, yes. And then softening across the front of the pelvis there. Lovely. Last few breaths like this. And then when you're ready, changing legs. So now the other leg becomes a frog leg. If you think of a frog swimming, got his legs wide out to the sides of his body. You look at the frog swimming. So there's the external rotation coming to the top of the pelvis. Frog meets sphinx. The gentle opening there across the front body. Bringing the mind gently back to the breath. Last few breaths like this. And so from here we'll push back into a wide-kneed child's pose, so the knees can go very wide, go as wide as your mat. If you wanted to use your roll blanket to support your front spine, you can use your roll blanket. You can even use your other blanket for your head. So knees wide, bringing the front body down towards the ground. Arms can go wherever you feel comfortable, so they can go out in front, or some people like to medially rotate the arms, bringing them back towards your feet. And some people might need extra cushioning underneath the front of the spine. So ideally, the front of the spine wants to feel supported so that you can really drop through the front body. And turn the head to one side or the other so that you can rest comfortably there. Child's pose, it's called. And so in child's pose, there's a few directions going on in the body. The pelvis is pushing back towards your heels. There's a sense of space through the lumbar spine, space there for the vertebra as the pelvis releases down towards the heels. There's a grounding backwards. And then from that stability, from that grounding backwards in your pelvis, then the spine can lengthen towards the head. So the spine is stretching in two directions. There's a grounding down and an extending up and out. And then the breastbone, that sternum, can start to fall forwards into the support beneath it. Sending the breath back into the back body, into the back of the lungs. So that there's a length to the breath. And a width to the breath. And a depth to the breath. And if you'd like to turn the head to the other side, feel free to turn the head to the other side if you haven't already. And then accessing a sense of stillness if you can. And so in Yin Yoga, we hold the poses for about 5 minutes. We also seek a sense of stillness. Through your own experience, you probably know that it's impossible to find complete stillness. Of course, we have the movement of the breath. this ongoing ebb and flow of sensations through the body. And this mind chatter. But in the poses, perhaps as in seeking stillness, these things can start to slow down. Last few breaths like this. So then when you're ready, very gently, slowly rising up. We're going to sit back between the legs. So you had your legs in a child's pose. You might want a blanket underneath your pelvis. So your legs are still where they were, like in child's pose. You just might want to put something underneath your pelvis to sit back into. So the legs are going medial. Your femurs are rolling in towards one another, and you're sitting down. Some people can sit right on the floor quite comfortably. Others will need to put more underneath the pelvis. So if you need your other blanket too, feel free to fold your other blanket up and stack it up on top. So the legs are medial. Also, if you need something underneath the ankles, at the front of the ankles, a rolled blanket or another little cushion underneath each of those, you might want to, or some people like padding under the front of the knees. And then find a place for your hands to rest that feels good. Palms up or down, or maybe the hands cradled, one inside the other. Or maybe this traditional yogic mudra that's used called Shin Mudra, where you join the index and thumb, place them on your legs. So finding a place for your hands that you can sustain. And then choosing a place for your eyes. So either closing the eyes, or if you're sleepy and you think you might fall asleep if you close the eyes, just cast the eyes down to the ground in front of you, maybe a couple feet away from you. And so then sitting down into your pelvis, you feel like you can let the pelvis take support from earth. So really sit down into the ground. And then keeping that connection to earth, begin to sit up out of earth. So with equal effort, you are sitting down into the ground, and you're also sitting up out of the ground. So two equal energies in the body. Just see if you can find a balance, a place of balance there. Soften the belly. And soften the jaw. Allowing the breath to be long in the body. Bringing a sense of length to the breath as you breathe along the spine, from tail to crown. And And also breathing wide in the body, so a sense that the ribs can move out towards the sides of the room as you breathe. So width to the breath. And also finding a depth to the breath, front and back body. Last few breaths like this. And so then we'll combine two poses in 5 minutes because they're both quite challenging. So from here, you're going to tuck your toes underneath your pelvis. So you're going to tuck the toes under, and you might want to keep your blanket that you've been using there to put on top of the lower leg so that you can sit down into something. Some of you might not need anything between the heels and the pelvis. Others might want something there. And then you might want your other blanket on top of your legs to provide something to hold on to if you've elevated your pelvis. It's quite nice to hold the hands onto something as you stay. So this opens all the fascia on the back of the foot. It's quite a good thing to do for your feet. Let the toes spread. And feel your heels directly underneath your sit bones, so the back bones in the back of the pelvis. So instead of letting the heels splay out, you're bringing the heels right together underneath the sit bones. So again, this sense of sitting down into the pelvis and also sitting up out of the pelvis. Again, choose a place for your hands. Choose a place for your eyes. And just for 1 minute more, see if you can find that three-dimensional breathing. So a sense of length to the breath, breathing along the whole spinal column. A sense of width to the breath, the rib cage expanding outwards both sides. And a sense of depth to the breath, so front and back body breathing. Last few breaths like this. Soften the belly. And face. And then when you're ready, releasing, coming forward so that you can release the feet. And then coming back to sit on the feet. So the second part of the second pose is that you lean backwards. So you're going to bring your hands, sorry, I picked the wrong kind of thing to wear today. So you put your hands behind you, your fingertips point towards your body, and then you can lift the knees. Yeah. So this stretches the whole of the front of the ankle and thighs. So again, picking a space for the eyes, maybe you want to look to the navel or to your knees, or straight ahead. The elbows, if they can bend directly backwards and slightly towards one another. And you can play around with lifting the chest into that space. So there's a front heart opening, a sense of back bend here. See what it's like to ground the pelvis through the feet. You're sitting down into the pelvis, down into the heels. And you're also extending out through the crown of the head as you lift the heart. Soften your belly. Let the belly breathe. And soften the eyes, the jaw, the chin. What else can soften? What if you let go of any muscular holding? Let the pose dissolve a bit as you let go. Last few breaths like this. And then when you're ready, undoing. It's just coming into caterpillar pose, so extending the legs out in front of you. If you feel like you're falling backwards when you sit with your legs extended, then you can always sit on a blanket to lift the pelvis up slightly. And then finding a way to come forwards from here. So sitting down and sitting up, and just seeing how far you can move the spine forwards from the hip joint. Maybe the hands can go to the ground, maybe they can rest on your leg somewhere. And bringing the front of your spine forwards so the front vertebra can start to soften into that midline space between the legs. So it's like the lower belly releases, the lower abdomen can soften. If you have quite open hamstrings, you might want to take your blanket and build something for your head to rest on. Or you can bend the knees, taking the slack out of the hamstrings. Or you can roll your blanket under your knees for more support, reducing sensation in the hamstring. So finding a way to fold forwards. Finding a way to fold forwards where you can sustain this forward softening. And softening the whole front body as the back body begins to open. And sense that you can breathe into the back of your lungs. Softening through the back heart space. And noticing where you feel sensation. Scanning your body with your mind's eye, what's still hanging on. Maybe fingers can soften. Maybe feet can soften. Maybe something in your face can soften a little bit more. Last few breaths like this. And so then in your own time, do take your time rising up and then setting yourself up for your final relaxation. So perhaps you'd like to start as we started, with a blanket under your head for support. Maybe you'd like your other blanket under your knees for support. If you feel chilly, maybe a blanket over the body. If you like something over your eyes, maybe your belt or a little cloth over your eyes. So finding a place where you can start to settle now. And as you settle, I thought I'd read to you today one of my favorite meditation practices. It's written by a gentleman named Stephen Levine, who writes a book called A Year to Live. And it's in his chapter about the fear of fear and how to let go of our fear of fear. So if there's anything else you need to adjust so that you can get comfortable, then do. And I encourage you to just let his words wash over you as you rest. He writes, taking a few deep breaths, feel the body you breathe in. Feel your body expanding and contracting with each breath. Focus on the rising and the falling of your abdomen. And let your awareness receive the beginning, the middle, and the end of each in-breath. And each out-breath. Expanding and contracting the belly. Note the constantly changing flow of sensations in each inhalation and each exhalation, and begin to soften all around these sensations. Let the breath breathe itself in a softening belly. Soften your belly to receive the breath, to receive sensation, and to experience life in the body. Soften the muscles that have held the fear for so long. Soften the tissues, the blood vessels, the flesh. Letting go of the holding of a lifetime. Letting go into a soft belly, merciful belly. Soften the grief, the distrust, the anger, held so hard in the belly. Levels and levels of softening. Levels and levels of letting go. Moment to moment, allow each breath its full expression in a soft belly. Let go of the hardness and let it float into something softer and kinder. Let thoughts come and let them go, floating like bubbles in the spaciousness of a soft belly, holding to nothing, softening and softening. Let the healing in and let the pain go. Have mercy on yourself and soften your belly. Open the passageway to your heart. In soft belly, there is room to be born at last and room to die when the moment comes. In soft belly is the vast spaciousness in which to heal, in which to discover our unbounded nature. Letting go into the softness, fear floats in the gentle vastness that we call the heart. Soft belly is a practice that accompanies us throughout the day and finds us at the day's end still alive and well. Soft belly is a trigger for our letting go. Softening melts the armoring over our heart, experienced as hardness in the belly. So each time we remember to be present, to be mindful, we soften into the moment. And softening becomes a call to the heart that it's safe to be alive in this body once again. Soft belly brings an end to our fear of fear. So very gently from here, beginning to lengthen your exhalation. and deepening your inhalation so that very gently you begin to grow your breath without force. Just soft, gentle growing of the breath. And then when the breath feels full, finding some small movements. Maybe the fingers or toes can move. Maybe you'd like to hug the knees or have a stretch. Whatever feels good in your body. And just beginning to breathe and move. Breathing and moving. And then in your own time, gently rolling to one side. Take your time. And then slowly coming up through to sitting. So finding sitting down and sitting up. And we'll bring the hands together, please, in front of your heart. On your next inhalation, lift the heart up. And on your exhale, release your head forwards. Thank you so much for joining me, all of you. That was really lovely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.